When you hear the word Subway, you probably have personal thoughts to the brand. Subway can be a name synonymous with fresh sandwiches and quick meals, or it could mean an overpriced, stale, low-quality sandwich. At its peak, Subway was everywhere. With over 40,000 locations worldwide, it wasn't just dominating quick service in the sandwich market, it was redefining it. But today, things look very different. Sudden store closures, controversies over its food, and emergency meetings based on declining sales have painted a challenging path forward. In this video, I go over the core strengths of Subway, some key issues, and some commentary on where it stands and why its sales have been declining. Let's dig in. Subway's journey began in 1965 when Fred DeLuca borrowed $1,000 from a friend to start a small sandwich shop in Bridgeport, Connecticut, USA. But what started as a one shop soon turned into a franchise phenomenon. Subway may not have created the sub sandwich, but it largely created the sub sandwich culture and franchise. Its rise in the 1970s and 80s through franchising really established a market for custom-made sandwiches, and dozens of chains have come along hoping to mimic its success. In many regards, the company is a huge success worldwide. By the early 2000s, Subway's meteoric rise had outpaced competitors like McDonald's in just the sheer number of locations, thanks to its cheap, low-cost franchising model. Today, Subway is one of the largest franchises in the world. Their cost leadership approach and economies of scale, given the number of stores, meant that it could run with minimal capital expenditures. In reality, Subway's concept was simple, yet effective. Subway's slogan, "Eat Fresh," was a stroke of genius, promising healthier fast food options at a time when customers were growing tired of greasy hot dogs, tacos, pizza, and burgers and fries. And who could forget Jared Fogle, whose dramatic weight loss made Subway sandwiches a cultural phenomenon. I won't talk about Jared Fogle anymore, but the idea is that the concept of Subway was so simple and very easy for consumers to understand. Subway also positioned themselves in high traffic areas and offered an alternative that aimed to be fresh, healthy, and quick. The $5 footlong was a huge success, and you could choose your protein, toppings, and customized sauces, things you like that could fit your taste buds. It became the perfect meal on the go and something that you actually wanted when you wanted to get filled up, and it actually tasted decent. But as Subway expanded, cracks in its growth began to show. By the mid-2010s, the company faced several challenges that threatened its dominance, which include increased competition from new fast casual players, franchise issues such as oversaturation of stores leading to cannibalization, and a decline in food quality and freshness. So let's break down these issues further. Subway's once innovative model and menu was no longer enough. Customers wanted more, and Subway's lagging innovation left it playing catch-up. Once sales began to slow, Subway increased the prices, and consumers felt that getting an average sub at $10 to $15 just simply wasn't worth the value anymore. Let's look at the competition. At Jersey Mike's, while the price is higher, consumers felt that the fresh sliced meat and cheese made the sandwich worthwhile. At Jimmy John's, the customer service is more friendly, providing a human approach, and Firehouse Subs is another example of a franchise that's growing. It wasn't until these past few years where Subway decided to introduce new toppings and flavors to an otherwise basic and standard menu, a campaign called Eat, Fresh, Refresh. Additionally, other competitors such as Chipotle, Panera Bread, and even Cava have been expanding into Subway's operating space because they offer fresh, healthy items as well, which means that Subway has to compete with other restaurants that are not just simply sandwich-based stores. So scandals obviously didn't help as well. The fallout from Jared Fogle's criminal charges hurt the brand's image. Combined with ineffective marketing campaigns in recent years, Subway has really struggled to stay and remain relevant in a very crowded market. Secondly, and most importantly, let's talk about oversaturation, because Subway is a franchise-driven enterprise. 99% of all of Subway stores are actually owned by independent entrepreneurs and business people. They buy the rights to sell Subway food, and this allowed Subway to expand rapidly, but it also created challenges such as inconsistent quality, oversaturation, and financial strain due to high royalty fees. Subway's franchise model actually made it very easy to open new stores. In fact, a little bit too easy. The franchise fee of $15,000 is currently very low, and the extra equipment needed to make sandwiches is simple. A few toasters and coolers means it's very easy to open them. Maybe you're looking at about $250,000. In actuality, 8% of Subway's gross sales go to Subway itself, and another 4.5% of gross sales go to the advertising and local marketing campaigns. You can see how this is actually going to reduce the profit margins. This is why Subway, when they introduced the $5 footlong, it was both a blessing and a curse. Because in 2008, the Great Recession hit, and Subway introduced a stunning deal at this time. Because a lot of people didn't have a lot of money to spend on food, so they flocked to Subway because their $5 footlong sandwich fed a lot of people. You can order a few sandwiches and it didn't cost a lot of money. However, at $5 for a footlong sandwich, which has meat and sometimes cheese and vegetables, it's almost a loss leader because a portion of the $5 goes to the food, you have the labor, and then you also have the operating costs and the rent, not including the 12.5% of the $5 that actually goes to the store. So relative to its price, Subway would have to sell a lot of sandwiches in order to remain profitable. By the early 2010s, there were so many Subways next to each other that stores began to eat into each other's profits. So basically, you're looking at 2 or 3 Subways are on one street, walkable distance from each other, and there's only a limited number of consumers. So once the sales start to decline, the price goes up, all of a sudden, you have all of these stores competing for the same pool, which means that franchisees struggled to stay afloat, and many found themselves unprofitable in trying to make ends meet. And there's also the quality issue, a huge contributor to its downfall. When I ask the general public, when I ask my students about their perception of Subway, it's just fine. If it's there, it's there. If they need to eat there, if there's no other options, they'll eat Subway. So it's pretty much a satisfactory sandwich, but they didn't really perceive it as something that's fresh. Since there were massive profitability concerns, franchisees started to cut costs to save money. Eat fresh? Subway's promise of fresh started to feel hollow as competitors like Chipotle, Panera Bread, Cava, all of these new stores and franchises upped the ante with fresher ingredients and more customizable options. For instance, Subway's bread, which is actually almost like a cake in Europe, meat, and vegetables have all had instances of quality assurance controls. Because CBC Marketplace actually dove into its claim of chicken and found that many parts of it were actually synthetic. Same with its tuna. These quality issues and concerns have affected the consumer sentiment of the brand. Customers start noticing that the bread just doesn't seem as fresh. The ingredients just aren't as vibrant. And overall, the experience just isn't the same as it used to be. I think at some point, you're even going to be paying $6 rather than for a sandwich, but for a cookie foot long. Gradually, trying to cut costs too much or recycle old ingredients means that people stop going. They didn't see the value because they associated Subway as a value brand, and all of a sudden, you're doubling the price and now it's $10 to almost $15 for a footlong. So what's next for Subway? The company has started to make changes to turn the tide. First, they've tried a renewed focus on quality. So focusing on fresher ingredients, the Eat Fresh and Refresh campaign is an attempt to remind customers of what made the brand exciting and great in the first place. The company is also modernizing its stores with updated designs, digital kiosks, the app, and better technology for online and delivery orders. But will it be enough? Subway faces an uphill battle, but its willingness to adapt could signal positive changes for the future. Yet, public perception of the brand is mediocre. It's stuck in a no man's land to an extent. The challenge remains that increased cost of production, combined with the recent approaches to discounting price through coupons, has led to franchises making barely any money. Subway's story is one of rapid success, hard lessons, and a determination to rebuild. But it's also a reminder that even the biggest brands need to stay relevant, need to listen to customers, and they also need to focus on delivering exceptional value for consumers. Given these challenging times of high inflation, it's really a challenge, but also a necessity to really focus on delivering not only shareholder value, but an exceptional sandwich experience.